We'll start with the weird and work our way up to the most ridiculous animals that shouldn't exist. Giraffes. The giraffe is the tallest animal on Earth, standing up to 6 meters tall. I mean, its neck alone is about 2 meters long, and yet it contains the same number of vertebrae as a human neck, which is already weird enough. Because the heart has to pump blood all the way up that neck to the brain, it's evolved into one of the most powerful hearts of any land animal, weighing about 11 kilograms and generating twice the blood pressure of a human heart just to keep the brain supplied. When the giraffe bends down to drink water, all that pressure rushing toward the head should theoretically cause it to black out instantly. However, it doesn't, and this is due to a complex system of valves and pressure-regulating blood vessels. And without that system, drinking water would kill it. Giraffes also only sleep about 30 minutes a day in total, usually in short 5-minute bursts, because lying down in the wild for too long makes them vulnerable to predators. And when they do fight each other, they swing their necks like a wrecking ball, a behavior called necking, which can knock a full-grown opponent off its feet. Now this is weird, but it's nothing compared to number 1 on this list. Koalas. At first glance, the koala looks like a harmless little stuffed animal someone decided to bring to life. But this animal is actually a walking evolutionary disaster. Koalas eat almost exclusively eucalyptus leaves, which are so low in nutrition and calories that most animals can't survive on them at all. Eucalyptus is also mildly toxic, meaning koalas are essentially eating poison every single day. To deal with this, they have a specialized digestive system that detoxifies the leaves. The leaves are still hard to digest though. This, combined with their low-calorie, low-nutrition diet, means they need to sleep up to 22 hours a day. They're literally running on empty all the time and conserving everything they got just to stay alive. On top of that, koalas have one of the smallest brain-to-body ratios of any mammal, with a brain that doesn't even fill their skull. Despite all of this, they've been around for millions of years, and they're doing just fine. Axolotl. The axolotl is a type of salamander from Mexico, and it looks like something a child drew, and then accidentally got turned real. It keeps its juvenile features its entire life, including its feathery external gills, which stick out of its head like a little crown. This is called neoteny, and it basically means the axolotl never fully grows up. But the truly insane part is what it can do. Axolotls can regenerate almost any part of their body. If they lose a limb, it just grows back. Even the brain recovers. Scientists have even successfully transplanted eyes and parts of the brain between axolotls with no scarring or rejection. This ability has made them one of the most studied animals in medical research, because if we could understand how they do this, it could change how we treat injuries in humans. Unfortunately, they're critically endangered in the wild, surviving in only one lake system near Mexico City. So we have an animal with near superhero biology, and it's almost gone. Velvet worm. The velvet worm spawned on Earth roughly 500 million years ago. It has stubby little legs, a soft velvety body, and it moves at an almost painfully slow pace. Velvet worms catch prey by shooting sticky slime from glands near their head. The slime hardens almost instantly on contact, trapping insects and other small creatures before the worm walks over and eats them alive. But the really wild thing about velvet worms is how old they are. Their fossils have been found dating back over 500 million years, which means they were alive when chordates evolved into fish, and were alive 250 million years before the first dinosaurs. Like, why haven't they become extinct yet? What's also pretty crazy is that they look almost exactly the same as they did back then. While every other creature on Earth was evolving into something dramatically different, the velvet worm basically decided it was already perfect and just stayed that way. 500 million years of staying exactly the same is honestly more impressive than any amount of evolving. Greenland Shark. The Greenland shark lives in the deep, freezing waters of the North Atlantic and Arctic Ocean, and it moves so slowly it's been nicknamed the sleeper shark. It averages about 1 kilometer per hour, which is barely a crawl. It's nearly blind in adulthood because a parasite attaches to its corneas and eats them, and yet it still manages to catch seals. Nobody's quite sure how, but none of that is the most interesting thing about it. Greenland sharks have been found to live for at least 400 years, possibly up to 500. One specimen was estimated to be around 392 years old, making it the oldest known vertebrate ever recorded. To put that into perspective, that shark was swimming around while Shakespeare was writing plays. The reason they live so long comes down to their freezing cold environment, and an extremely slow metabolism that basically puts all their biological processes in slow motion. Immortal Jellyfish. The immortal jellyfish is about 4.5 millimeters wide, which is about the size of a small ant. When it gets old, injured, or stressed, it does something no other animal in the world can do. It reverts back to its juvenile polyp state and starts its entire life cycle over again. It literally becomes young again from scratch. This process is called transdifferentiation, where one type of cell transforms into a completely different type of cell, essentially rebuilding the entire organism from the beginning. In theory, this means it could live forever as long as it doesn't get eaten or die from disease. The somewhat terrifying side effect of this ability is that the immortal jellyfish has spread to oceans across the entire world, likely hitchhiking in ship ballast water, and because it never has to die, populations just keep expanding. Tardigrade. The tardigrade, also known as the water bear, is microscopic, about 0.5 millimeter in length. It has 8 legs, a tiny round body, and it looks vaguely like a chubby little bear shuffling around. It also might be the toughest living thing on Earth. Tardigrades can survive temperatures ranging from minus 272 degrees Celsius, which is just 1 degree above absolute zero, all the way up to 150 degrees Celsius. They can survive pressures 6 times greater than the deepest ocean trench, and they've survived the vacuum of outer space with no suit. They can also handle radiation at levels 1,000 times higher than what would kill a human. During extreme conditions, they enter a state called cryptobiosis, pulling all their legs in, expelling almost all the water from their body, and essentially shutting down into a tiny barrel shape until conditions improve. They can stay in this state for decades and then just wake up like nothing happened. Tardigrades have survived all 5 of Earth's mass extinction events, which is pretty amazing, considering a 15-kilometer wide asteroid was able to wipe out dinosaurs but not tardigrades. Platypus. The platypus was discovered in 1799, and the scientists who first received a specimen in England thought it was a taxidermy hoax. They thought someone had sewn a duckbill onto a beaver. Now, the platypus is obviously real, but the more you look into it, it just gets really strange. First of all, it's a mammal that lays eggs. Second of all, it has a beaver tail, otter feet, and a duckbill. Third of all, the males have venomous spurs on their hind legs, which makes them one of the very few venomous mammals on the planet. The venom is potent enough to cause severe pain in humans. Aside from that, the bill contains around 40,000 electroreceptors that detect the electrical signals produced by the muscle movements of prey, which allows the platypus to hunt with its eyes, ears, and nose completely shut. It also doesn't have a stomach. Food goes straight from the esophagus to the intestines. Scientists have found that its genome contains genes from mammals, reptiles, and birds all at once, which is biologically insane and should theoretically just not exist. If you like this video, subscribe for similar ones. Thanks for watching.